Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the Madcore Hunter podcast. Got Danny with me this week. Danny, what's going on?
As you can tell, I'm at home in Wyoming, and weather's not too shabby right now. We got about 50 degrees, and the wind's going to blow all week, of course. But uh, pretty, not very busy right now. Been kind of laid back. Got to spend some time yesterday with the family, and that was a lot of fun. We all gathered up for I cooked some prime rib and had a good afternoon with them, and trying to make plans for the fall a little bit on where we're going to put in for elk and deer and everything. So we don't have to do that for a minute yet, but we started discussing it a little bit. And, you know, just got it. The other thing I got going on is got on the horses here a couple days ago, and it wasn't bad. Just found out that I still need some larger gear. These horses are just so big compared to what I was running that even the new stuff I went and bought, one of them was a size too small. So spent a bunch more money today on horses trying to get that figured out. So I'm going to work on that this week. Well, it's nice to maybe try to get on them a few more times. But dude, they're fast. Like it's going to be a different experience. And like they especially the one I think is going to be my horse wants to move.
That's good.
Um, Yeah, and I will say, like, it spooked me how fast he got to going the other day, but it was smooth as could be. So,
Really?
yeah. So,
That's good, man.
that's why I was telling my wife, she got on and, tried out the horse that she'd calling hers, um, and he was a lot more stable. I mean, I just haven't been on him much yet, so there's gonna be a learning curve with them and us. But, she was talking about how smooth they were, and I was like, "Well, don't let them get going because they can move," you know?
Yeah.
So, definitely gonna take a lot of time spent with them this summer, but I think it's gonna work out very well for us.
Yeah. We got to do the same thing. That's another reason I decided, because I'm training for this Ironman. I wanted to do it early on. That way I had all summer to prepare for the fall, let alone just I wanted to have more of the summer free because that's your prep time, riding gear. Um, the other day, man, I was at a place, just looking around, maybe get some hats made, and somebody approached me about a lease, so I don't know how that's going to end up. Still waiting on where we come with. I was talking to you about a little bit with prices and such, but it's a pretty good area. I want a Kentucky lease, but it's hard to turn down, if the price is right, there's a couple guys get in, and I know the area is good. It's around here. So it's getting to where, I mean, unless you have money to buy, I mean, I still have a lot of permission. I'm thankful for that. And you can still do it, but it is reassuring to have, if you can afford a lease or something, um, and you can put a little time and effort, keep other people off of it. I mean, obviously you can't control the neighbors, but food plot wise, man, like, if we had something like that or like a Kentucky like I want, that gets you pretty busy in the summer between trails, stands, food plots, learning the property. And then, I just, there's some house projects this summer and such, but I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it definitely sounded like that place is, something that needs to be checked out for sure.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated and see, but I don't know. Places come and go, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But yeah, if I sound a little tired, I just as soon as I got home from work, I hopped on the bike. I was on the bike for it was too cold. It snowed here actually today. We had a little bit of stick, but it's on the bike for 2 hours and 45 minutes. So it's
Was
it's
that
my
just
long.
a stationary bike then?
Yeah, well, it's my triathlon bike, but I hook up the back of it has like a way you can hook it up to where it just becomes a stationary bike. So a lot of people do it anyways because it's safer. You don't have to get on the road, and it's too cold right now anyways. I just sit there watching TV, trying not to get too bored because you're not going anywhere.
Do you keep track of, like, how far you went or anything like that?
I don't have one that fancy. I just go by time and try to keep within a heart rate zone. You can get some that, like, there's a screen in front of you and it's literally like virtual, almost like virtual golf, you know? I just hopefully it's gonna start warming up here soon. Actually, it was warm enough last week, but I got the flu. So I had to take almost a week off of training, which I think I needed it. My body recuperated. I felt pretty strong today. But, it's creeping up, man, and turkey season's right around the corner, and, my buddy was frost seeding this past weekend. We went bird hunting. Had a great bird hunt, man.
Really?
Just awesome. Yeah, I mean, we go to, like, a hunting preserve, so to speak, and there's a really good one about a little over 2 hours away, and, man, like, um, Dietrich got to come, brought his boys, the weather was right. Dad brought a guy from work and, like, I'm sure he's hooked now because I don't know if because we've ran into some natural coveys at this place before because it is a preserve, but he said he put a lot of quail out, like, a week ago, but they had covied up, but, dude, we found so many birds. Like, I think we altogether had 24 out in the field that we knew of, and, man, like, we probably found I think we probably found 18 to 20 pheasants
Really?
that had just been out there, and then we got into a covey of quail, and, like, they were flying like they'd been out there a while, like, or they were, natural because me and dad got into a natural covey at, one of the farms, and, we took a couple out of that covey, and, there's enough that they could survive, and it's always nice finding, some extra stuff you didn't know was out there, and the dogs did so good, and it was just a good day, man. Grandpa got to go, um, didn't shoot, got to walk around and such, but that's a really good time. I hate that we can't get to states that, have a bunch of natural birds, but man, for the dogs and just the camaraderie, you can't beat it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I know I did done that a few times back there and, always had a good time,
Yeah.
doing that. And getting to work the dogs is always fun. No matter what you're using a dog for, it's fun to see them do what they can do.
Yeah, we try to take people and, like, everybody that comes, man, they're like, "Man, I could not even shoot and still have a good time, like, just watching the dogs, and we're very blessed, like, our dogs do really good, I feel, and, they're neat to watch and, see them kinda in their element, you know?
Is that fairly reasonable priced back there?
I think, yeah, I don't think it's bad, we usually just, get 5 or 6 guys and, I don't know, everybody, it's usually around 120 bucks.
Yeah.
A piece, and man, you get pretty much a full day worth of shooting and fun. Like I think it narrows down. Like you buy so many pheasants or so many chucker. I usually don't buy quail because they fly low, but obviously if we find them, no big deal. But your dogs are 4 or 5 hours. They're about to put, and like every time, like this last time, like we were out there that long, like we probably could have hunted longer, but obviously you got to clean birds and get back. It's a pretty good drive. But I think it's fairly priced. Like if you're gonna go play golf, you're gonna probably spend that much too,
Yeah.
for like a nice place by the time you get some balls and this and that. So it's comparable to that.
Yeah, that's way cheaper. I mean, I haven't done it in a long time here in Wyoming, but around, the Casper area, I mean, 10 years ago, I don't even know if that's right, it may be longer than that. It was 225 or 250 a person for 4 birds.
Oh,
Each
that's
basically,
crazy.
like, you got 4 birds and got to go out, and that was a half a day, 4-hour hunt.
I think four pheasants is like 120.
But that
100. Yeah.
it kinda amazed me is, like, a fly trip here for a half a day basically runs the same price as, like, the pheasants, which they're right in this area, that's I think it's same company that runs those or used to be. So, those kinda matched up, but, like, a half day fly fishing trip was around that 250 mark here too, and I think it's a touch more than that now.
It's as close as you can get, and I've been blessed. We've hunted a lot of wild birds, and nobody ever, like you have some upland hunters that are, like, diehard, like, wild birds only, but if you pheasant hunt, like, you know this, like, the state of North Dakota and South Dakota, like, they buy pheasants from the same place that these preserves like, we know for a fact, like, we have the name, and he has these big orders that he sells to states because these states wanna keep up with the hatches and if they have rough
Really?
years, so it's, you know, it's in a sense about the same, it's just how long they're out there. But and then there's a
Yeah.
certain percentage, but it's a good time, man, I recommend it. Now, obviously, we have dogs and we're passionate about it, but, you know, there's guides there, which that would probably run the price up more, so maybe I don't know if you had to pay for guides, but we have our own dogs and everything.
It might have been a little cheaper. Those trips we went was going with the guy that runs it and his dogs, yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably why it's a little more
It
for
might have
the
been a little cheaper. I never went out there. When I had my dog, I didn't go to that place with her, I guess, you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's a good time, man.
yeah, do they have, do they have to shut down at a certain time of year there in Indiana? Or can you do that year round?
They, usually March is it. That's
Yeah,
about it.
so that
Yeah,
must
they
be fairly common because here I think it's March 31st is as far as he'll run out
yeah.
to.
Usually he just runs out of birds, but there's a place in Ohio we go, he said that he might run through March, but his birds weren't quite as good. I mean, like, it's just a good place we go, like, we never have hardly ever do we have a bird that doesn't fly, like, they're very wild acting, you know what I mean? Because like, I've been to a couple places where you can just tell, like, they've not been in the fly pen properly, it's like couple of your birds, you know, their wings are jacked up, and it's hard on the dogs, they shouldn't be catching them and this and that, so
Yeah, I know, man, it's been a really long time ago when I was a kid. I want to say it was up in northern Indiana, and we were trying to do pheasants with archery with recurves,
yeah.
and those dang birds wouldn't hardly get up. I think we all killed a pheasant, but we shot them like when they were running on the ground. We shot at a
Really?
bunch of birds flying, you know,
Yeah.
and got feathers and stuff like that. Because I remember uh, dad got a quail with his recurve on that place we were at. But
There's
I shot a pheasant with a recurve there, but he
there's
was like
wild
running.
pheasants in Northern Indiana. Were these wild ones?
And maybe that wasn't all the way up in northern Indiana. Though that was a reserve that
Okay.
we went with bows, but I have hunted in like the 90s. I hunted in northern Indiana where they had some wild pheasants and we went for a full day.
The
I don't
limit's 2 in Indiana.
I don't think your dad w he could have been on that trip. Um, it was right up by the northern border, I think, and, man, I was probably 13 or 14. That was probably the first pheasant I ever shot. I killed one, and I think dad killed one, but we had a group of 6 or 7 guys trying to find birds. We found them, but they were getting up way out in front of us, you know, so but
Yeah.
that was the first time our bird dog had been on pheasants too, and he
Really?
did.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember, like, the birds kept getting up in front of him, but by the end of the day, that dog had figured out that as soon as he smelled a pheasant, he needed to go circle the bird and bring him back towards us. And we end up killing a few birds later that afternoon because that dog figured that out
Huh.
because he was tired of him getting up and nobody getting one. So.
Well, we Rob drew a special hunt in Northern Indiana because you can draw hunts up there, and you
Really?
can invite, like, a person or 2, and I don't think dad can make us, he invited me, and the limit was 2, and, like, we got on wild birds, we limited out too, I'm pretty sure. It was fun. You got, like, a section assigned to you, and, you know, it's pretty cool to hunt wild pheasants in your own home state.
Was that were you guys on public or was that private property stuff that they had you on?
I think it's public, but you had to draw it. Um, I think only you know, like, 1 hunt a week or every other week. It was very limited draw, like, it was pretty neat that he drew it, so it was a special opportunity.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I mean, that was when I did that, that was 30 some years ago, you know.
yeah.
But I've got a picture of me holding the pheasant, and I couldn't have been 13 or 14 that I'd shot that day.
So, last podcast, I mean, you kinda went over our worst hunt, and I kinda liked where that went, and, other people did too, but, we were gonna get to some other things, but I was thinking about going over, I guess I'll just ask you, do you wanna talk about your best hunt or your dream hunt? Because I know me and you, we get to talk and we're gonna have to pick one or the other. I doubt we're gonna get to both.
I think let's go into best and we'll see where it goes from there, I guess. Because like we were talking about when you got into worse hunts, it's hard because they're just not something that like there's not been very many of them where it's like I wouldn't go back and try doing that
Yeah.
same hunt again.
It's gonna
I
be
made
hard with
that.
best hunt because there's just in the sense there's special moments in each hunt, but so I'm gonna let you go first, probably.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit about it that I'm sure there's mine. th- There's a lot of best moments. It's kind of like the worst hunts. There's different times that I like. Man, I could tell you something great from so many of them. But as far as a hunt, it's hard to beat the hunt that brought me to Wyoming, and that was me, my dad, and your dad uh, came out to Wyoming in 2002, and we that hunt was great from the get go. The first day before season, we had went up and was getting shown some of the mountain, and by Jed Holder, that was local. He was from Indiana, but he lived in Wyoming at that time, and I don't remember seeing elk, like riding, but we come down and that evening we're going to another little canyon and he's showing us another trail that we can go in. And we just happened to find two sheds laying like within eyesight of the two track that we're on. And me and your dad we're in the bed of this truck, just looking out, hanging to the top of it, driving slow and all this stuff. We go out there and go pick, like, he's like, yeah, Jed's seen him while he's driving. He pointed. We go out there and grab those sheds. And to this date, they're still the biggest elk sheds that I've ever personally been involved finding. I think that bull scored I don't want to misspeak. It was either 340 or 360 without a spread. Or no, I'm sorry. That would have been with a 40-inch spread, I guess it was.
Do you have
But
those shits at your place?
no, Jed's got them. He kept them.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure he still has them. I've got pictures of those. Yeah, I think he came out the. Gosh dang it! It's been so many years ago. I want to say that bull was 360 with a 40-inch spread.
Yeah.
We don't know how wide he was, but there was a lot of wide bulls in that area, and that was a fairly common spread.
Mhm.
So I think the sheds themselves were 310, 320 without the spread.
Gosh, dude. It's
Yeah, they
crazy.
were giants, and it's so weird like to think about that finding those sheds to today because there's no way those sheds would have been there. This is the day before season starts in September, and those sheds are 30 yards off of the main two track that a lot of people drive. So, like,
Mhm.
those sheds would have been picked up probably before it was ever even legal to pick them up,
Yeah.
now because, but that hunt was just, we were in bulls and just the whole time had a great hunt and seen a lot of really nice bulls. But, that was my first elk, and we were probably 3 or 4 days into the hunt, I think. I think I shot on Wednesday, and I want to say season came in on a Saturday. And I mean, I'm skipping a lot of stuff, but the moment that the hunt where I killed was just, it's one of the best that I ever experienced, with my dad personally, let alone having your dad there,
Mhm.
was a great experience too. But none of us, I mean, dad had shot an elk, and, this is only like third trip for, I think, your dad, and probably the third or fourth for mine. I think it was my dad's fourth trip and maybe your dad's third. We talked about that a little bit before,
Mhm.
but those guys had opportunities and hadn't killed early on in the week, and I was getting frustrated because I hadn't had an opportunity at an elk. I mean, we'd had a great hunt, but I was like, I want to get shot here, you know. And we moved to a new area, and the truck died. Like on the way in, we were having a bunch of transmission problems with my dad's truck pulling the horses, and we just camped like right where the truck just stopped. And we were debating on whether to go back to town, you know, trying to figure something out with the horses or mules and go back and get transmission fluid or whatever. And I was like, let's go at least look at this area and see what we got going on. And we saw a bull bedded on a hillside, and his cows were up feeding. And it was right at as the trees kind of ended as it got down to the bottom of this hillside. And I remember all three of us sat there and talked about what to do. And, you know, like somebody was talking about, let's leave, let's just sit here and watch. We'll go after him tomorrow morning. And then, you know, I don't remember what all the different things were, but I was just like, no, we're going after that bull tonight. We're right here. I think he'll come in if we get close enough. And I kept pushing. And it was me because I was, you know, I was like, this is my opportunity. And one of the funniest things is as we were glassing, I got some old footage I think I still have of that bull because I had a camera then. I pulled it out and filming. I was filming and I started getting bit. I laid right into like red ants, I think, on the hillside. And there was no, you know how we always tie up the mules to a tree? Well, the only thing that was in that area was about a foot tall pine trees. I mean, they were short, like under 2 foot, that we tied all those mules up to on that hillside and left to go after them, and only had about, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half maybe before it got dark. But I remember we tried to cross a meadow, and I could see the cows. I couldn't quite see the bull, but we couldn't get out of sight. And there was big tall sage there, but we were kind of out in the open, but there was regular cattle in the area. So we just all three hunkered up and walked. And I was like, I don't know, maybe they'll think we're cows. And we walked across like 100 yards where we could see cow elk, and nothing spooked. We got over the sage and we were hidden, but we were able to get to about 80 to 100 yards from that bull. And by the time we got there, he had stood up and was raking a tree. And my dad bugled once, and that bull he screamed as he ran and came up there. And I remember dad, like, I'm to my dad's left, he's in the middle, and your dad's on the right. So, you know, we have no idea where the bull, we're just in a line at the top of this hill that was about 75 yards straight down to the bottom, and the elk was across it. You could hear him coming. And I remember or I think I waited till I seen his horns to draw the bow back. And I seen his tips coming. And I mean, he's 15, 20 yards from me. I draw back and he stops, and I'm sitting on my butt with my legs under me, and I get up to my knees, and he spooks. And I'm like, he couldn't see me. I could just see his tips. And he started to take off. Dad bugles, and it was just kind of breaking loose. And I got up as high as I could. I don't remember if I stood up or not, but I got up, and that bull just happened at like 30, 35 yards, just turned just a little bit back to look at what bugled as he ran off. And I let it go, and the arrow disappeared. And I thought I'd shot low. Like I thought I missed him because the sage was so tall. It looked good. And then the arrow dove behind that sage. And yeah, I heard it hit, and he took off. And I'm like, at this point, I just start shaking like crazy after I've shot, which is kind of normal for me. I blow up then. And I remember dad's hollering. He's like, you hit it in the shoulder, get another shot in him, all this stuff. And I grab the arrow and I just draw my bow back, and I'm not looking. I draw the bow back and I just stand up and start walking, trying to see where he's at. And then dad screamed and said, he's down. He only ran about 30 yards to the bottom, 50 yards maybe, and fell over. And I'd hit him in the bottom of the V of the heart, but just big enough for that 3-blade broadhead to go in. And we all went nuts. But I remember dad hunting with a black widow that I got right now, and he threw that dang bow like 10 feet down the hillside. And he, I'm 6'5", and Dad comes over and picks me off the ground and is hugging me, and we're all celebrating. And everybody's
Yeah.
talking about, like, how he just came over to your dad. Your dad would have got a shot. My dad, like, I don't know why I didn't shoot. He was right there, But there was a spike that had came up with him. It was the only other bull that was in the area with him, and he tolerated him because he was a spike, I guess. But the spike ran up, and I guess that the spike was what seen me draw back and what caused him to spook. So
Mm.
I mean, that was amazing. The crazy thing about all that elk died, and you know, it was such a celebration. It was emotional and all that stuff. We put a lot of work in on that hunt, and just hadn't got it done. And it's just one I'll never forget. I know it was it was really special to Dad for sure to see me be successful. And I mean, 2 months. Well, I shot that in September. November, I moved to Wyoming, so it's the reason I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, there's a special tag. I haven't got to hunt that mountain very much since then. It's just a very limited area, and I haven't been fortunate enough to draw. But we've killed a few other elk off there. Zach drew that mountain a couple times and stuff. But
You
it was
guys
a
are lucky, man. Yeah.
crazy hunt, and that was on Wednesday, and we could hunt till Friday night. And I've got this old footage. I don't have the shot. I think that tape. You know, this was filmed. The stuff any of the hunt would have been filmed on like a tape that took a mini VHS. They were small. They were about 3 or 4 inch tapes that looked just like a regular VHS cassette. And sometimes before I got it transferred to a computer, that stuff started kind of rotten, and some of it didn't transfer. So I had where you could see the decoy when your dad shot his bull. But I recently reviewed some of that footage, and I found the recovery of your dad's bull, and it's something. I don't know if you've ever seen it at all. And it's something you need to see because your dad's just ecstatic when we
Yeah.
find him. But you actually see that bull because he had shot it and it went over embedded, and we got back on it. So I'm filming, and you can see the horns moving of that bull that he killed there. And he shoots, and the thing runs off, and then we go running after, trying to get on it again, and it goes down. So that's pretty neat. Some of that old footage I got. It's nothing quality, man, but it's just seeing some of the reaction of all of us going nuts over your dad's bull. So
How big was that
that's
bull?
your dad's.
Yeah.
He was popping young. He was probably. I mean, I don't know for sure. I don't know that I ever put a tape to it, but I would have said, in that 270 range, probably. I think he was he. It says it on the video because I think we thought it was a
It's a
five by
6 by,
five.
I think.
I think it had little, small, short fifths, and I think it ended up being a 6 point.
Yeah.
But he was fairly heavy. But that's still one of the craziest call-ins because that bull, he was on top of that mountain. We heard him bugle, and we bugled once, and you could hear him. He bailed off that mountain. I swear he came from like, I don't even know, 1,000 yards at full run. Like he just barreled down through the timber, and you could just hear it the whole way. Like, he's coming in, and he ran right into us. I don't remember how far your dad was, but that elk was about 15 yards in front of my dad when Dave shot. So, and the funny thing about that, and my dad remembers this, is, I'm filming. I don't have the bow with me because I'd shot. And Dad turned around to me as he called it. He's like, "Don't you mess this up with the camera." He didn't want the camera to be too noisy or anything. And
Yeah.
so I was so nervous. I'm like hiding over there. I didn't get the shot on film.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I remember because he was scared I was going to mess it up for those guys getting the shot. But that was it was just a lot. I mean, it's why I'm here. It's a great memory. I mean, I got a lot of others, but to me, that just that week was so fun. I was thinking about this today. I think anytime, it don't happen very often. Anytime that you can go see a new animal that you've never experienced, it's like being a kid and experiencing anything new.
Mhm.
Because I remember on that being so obsessed with seeing an antelope when I came
Yeah.
to Wyoming because they were a different creature, you know. All I'd hunted was whitetail, and I mean I've watched videos on elk, but I never watched hardly anything on antelope. You know, I mean I would have seen some, but I just remember coming out and seeing antelope and being like, "This is like going to Africa or something." And that's
Yeah.
why I want to
They
go to
are
Africa
neat.
is
Yeah.
to experience new animals that I've never hunted. That's something I always really enjoy.
Yeah.
Is just that a new animal, even a new subspecies is nice, but just a true animal you haven't hunted, I think, is worth the effort to try to go.
Absolutely. I agree. I wanna do that with Alaska, which I know you do
Yeah,
too.
yeah, for sure. Um, well, that's one for me. You want to go into one?
Yeah, well, since we're on elk, man, I would have to say, which we went over the last 2 Utah trips have been very special. But man, which is my biggest bull, and, it was it was in Colorado, and I've only ever hunted, over the counter, or I guess general
Yeah,
tag, so, um, we've always gone out there to I mean, I always want a bull, and I've been blessed to get some, but usually it's hard to pass up a cow. And dude, I swear this place had a little bit of pressure, but it was some of the best elk hunting I've had. And it was just the whole trip because we did a lot of riding in this place in Colorado. Colorado's beautiful. And every night we would ride into the Big Dipper. Like if you just followed the Big Dipper, that was back to camp. And I remember it was a nice campground because where we go in Wyoming, it's really not a very good camp spot. And this was like back
yeah.
in the rural. And your dad and Bill, which you showed up one time, I think
I
you
came
remember
over and
this.
spent an evening with you guys. Yeah,
Yeah, and they would have a fire every evening because we always went a little bit farther with the mules and such. So it was just really nice, a good experience. And the first night we got an encounter with one of the biggest bulls I had an encounter with. I got talked about it the other night. I kind of dad stayed back and called, and I went out in front of him, and the wind was kind of coming across. If I just would have went more to the right, the bull would have just ran right into me, and it was a huge herd bull. But we heard so many bugles that trip. And the particular day, I won't want to get too much into the trip, but it was just we had a lot of. I think every day we heard a bugle at least. The particular day was just one of those days, like it was on, and we counted. Now spikes included 11 bulls we called in, but it was
yeah,
real windy, and our wind kept swirling. And finally, uh, man, we had gotten close. I put the stock on these two fork horns, but they got up above us, and like stuff just kept circling. It was like crazy, but like every time we got winded, here was another bull bugle. So it's like, okay, let's try again, or something. So, uh, it was down below us. Dad was calling, and here's this bull bugling. And it's a pretty good bull. That's another reason I asked. It was a pretty good 5x6, not quite as big as what dad killed with you, but like I don't know, maybe like a 260. I never did put tape on them or really cared, but I don't know, decent bull for me. And I see him and I'd ranged. He was coming up through there, his broadside, and he was like 38 yards, and I drew back. And as soon as I drew back, dad saw me draw back. And as soon as I did, he called. And I'm so glad he did because for some reason I didn't feel very confident with that shot. I don't know what it was because like it's not a super far shot, but almost 40 yards is a little bit of a poke. And like the bull, like I think I got caught up in the moment a little bit. And you have to realize at this time I think I was 14. It's like I don't even know. I just got caught up in the moment a little bit. I don't even know if I think he had stopped, but right when I was getting ready to let it go, dad called and that bull turned, looked right at us, and ran in, and he
Really?
ran right to us, and then he stopped at, like, 15 yards, and I just frontal shot, like, the arrow just disappeared right into him, and the bull just looked at me, or no, he turned around, ran about, 10 yards and looked back, and, like, I can knock another arrow pretty fast,
Yeah.
and before I could get another arrow knocked, the bull rears up on its back 2 legs and somersaults down the mountain and just collapses, like, dead. It had to go directly into his heart, like, just blow it up, and it was the fastest I'd ever killed anything, like, and this was an elk. It was right in front of me, and, I remember going up to dad, and just like, I got him, he's because I think dad was kinda hiding behind a tree, and he'd heard the commotion, and, that'll be memorable because there was some emotion a little bit on that trip. I had, I hate saying this, but I had stuck one in the shoulder, like, a day or 2 before, um, and, I was real down on myself because like, I thought it was a good shot, and it just wasn't, and, dad was really trying hard, but, and we had called in so many bulls before this and, like, had a huge herd bull. I mean, we were just so close, and this is public land, like, these are tough elk,
Yeah.
and to see that happen, right in front of you, was pretty neat. I just remember just going up there, I mean, it was this thing was dead, and it was way back in there. I remember this, I think it was 8 miles from camp, and then 3/4 of a mile up from the trail, and you couldn't get the mules up there. So I
Yeah.
remember we had to get, I think Bill and Woody volunteered to go with me and dad to get it out the next day, and it took the whole day. I mean, it was way back in there. And, of course, they kinda, we told 'em about all the elk, and it warmed up that next day, and it was one of those days, it was just a frenzy, and you've seen it, like, there just was elk everywhere, and then the next day, like, we might have heard a bugle, but it kinda warmed up and just everything was gone. It's not like we, went all over the mountain. It was just really neat. I was real young, and, I think I had killed a cow before this, but that was my first bull, biggest one. It was a frontal, unique shot to be, to have a bull come at you, 15 yards away, and just sink it right into the chest, and it literally just reared up and fell down the mountain, before I could get another arrow on, and, died right there. It was neat, man. Um,
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a pretty special one. I
you
know
know,
when those frontal shots work, they're pretty amazing. I had a real good one where I shot an elk one time. Man, it couldn't have been 5 yards. It was like 2.5 steps or something, and it buckled him. Like he fell to his knees when he got hit,
yeah.
and he ran about 30 yards and sat there and just was pouring out. It looked like he dumped a 5-gallon bucket of red paint there.
Yeah,
He
that's the
didn't
other
go
thing, like,
anywhere.
there's just blood just came out, and it was a bigger bull, bigger than the last 2 I killed. Like, I sat on it, and held the rack, and it
Well,
was just neat. It was that, I was young, and just that whole trip was neat. And then another thing, giving your dad credit, we brought back the inside loins that night, obviously no contact, and we got back to camp, and they said, "Did you do any good, this or that?" And I pulled out those inside loins, he gave me a big hug, and, the camaraderie was neat, and, that was that's the only elk we killed that trip. It was like it was tough hunting, but, we had some success way back in there. We were riding a lot. Like,
yeah,
it was tough hunting, and you cross multiple streams, and believe it or not, uh, I saw a wolverine that trip. That was another neat thing.
right on. Yeah, I mean, thinking back at different stories, it amazes me to think it's not always the biggest or that. It's most of mine are more when there's people with me,
Yeah.
you know? and certain people getting to experience it and stuff. I think about that like a lot of I've had some pretty good experiences on whitetail, but sometimes that's done alone. You
Mhm.
know, and maybe you maybe get to be there for the recovery, and that is a lot of fun when you can get your family in or friends in, uh, to experience getting out of the woods and stuff. But I've had some great elk hunts that occurred by myself that they don't stand out as much. I shot a raghorn one time. It rained all day, and I shot that raghorn. It's the most unbelievable day of elk hunting I've ever experienced in my life, but nobody was there with me when I shot it. And, I got Zach. I went and got Zach, and he come and helped me, but, he wasn't there for the hunt. And that's a whole nother story. I had a buddy with us that had started to walk in because we were on horses and we lost each other because it was raining so hard and he hadn't been in there and he went down the wrong trail. And I sent Zach back to find him so that we could meet up at noon. But that day, I heard elk bugle all day long. It was before dark when I was riding in, they were bugling and it never stopped for more than 15, 20 minutes all day long. Like it was the most incredible day of rut I'd ever seen. Like even as we had multiple elk around us that would come running in because they'd hear us messing with the bull after a while we were cleaning it. Just hear the
Mhm.
noise of something walking and they'd get close till they smelled us. But there was elk as we rode out that night. There was still elk bugling on the mountain. It was an unbelievable day, but it didn't mean. I mean, it was a great hunt, but it'd have been a lot better had all three of us been together when it occurred.
You talk about the camaraderie, and I think that's what has me so hooked on upland. I swear, I think it's the challenge of elk hunting that draws me so close to it in the rack and just all the above. You spike back in and relying on your gear and the mules. It's an adventure, and I love that. But I tell you what, right behind it is upland, and I'll tell you why. Just um, growing up, that's what we did. Like Rob raised birds, and like we always had a dog, and like the relationship I have with my dog, even like that. Duke is like my best friend, man. Like it's so rewarding to have your dog point a bird, you shoot it, and that dog bring that bird right back to your hand. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just there's something very neat about that, and like the camaraderie because you can't hunt till 11. I think it's still like that. And when we went to South Dakota, so you kind of sleep in, and you cook breakfast, and we had some private ground in South Dakota, and like your dad went one year, and I just remember everybody get up early, they get all hopped up on coffee, big breakfast, talk, and when you go out and hunt, it's just kind of a competition. Can you tag out? It's still very challenging, the dogs, and I think that the camaraderie of upland is second to none. And maybe it's like that for duck hunting and such too. A lot of guys, I haven't done a ton of that, but my grandpa was doing it. Your dad a lot of times, Rob, those guys have been like uncles to me. And I think the upland man is always going to have a special place. I don't think I'll ever give it up. And I see how crazy elk is getting with like go hunt, and it's getting so hard, man. Like even over the counter, like at some point, kind of like Aaron Snyder says, are you going on a bow hike? This last year we're pretty good elk hunters. I feel like we should have been able to get dad a shot, and it wasn't for the lack of anything, just not any elk and overpressured by people. And that's saddening because, I do love, but the upland isn't as pressured, probably because, you're not chasing a rack and score and this or that. But man, to have a good dog and good people to hunt with is really hard to beat for me. It
yeah.
is.
I mean, it's why I still love whitetail, because if you can get your own small little place or have that lease, I mean, it's still getting tougher and tougher to have a place to hunt them. But you know, it's it's a two-edged sword. You don't want to see a bunch of people, but also when it comes to them taking away public lands, you want as many people on your side as you can. So there's good and bad with it all. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many. They all stand out. I can remember so much about almost any animal that I've ever got. My moose was amazing. The hunt was not it did not turn out that great. We tried pretty hard, but weren't having the luck that I expected to have. And, I ended up shooting an animal pretty close to the road, and that kinda took away some of the hunt for me, even though we'd been as far as, 10 miles in. But
Yeah,
my dad, my uncle, um, Tony was there and Jimmy was there, and just the day of, cross like, we could have got to this elk to where I could have loaded him whole, and I made the choice. I told him no. I was like, I don't care that it's, 3 or 400 yards, from a 2 track that we were able to get it back in from the main road there to get to him, but I'm like, "We're packing it out." And, I mean, it wasn't very far. Like, we were able to get a truck within, I don't know, 100 yards or something. But I was like, "I'll pack the whole ring myself." I was like, it was raining, pouring. We might had a bottle of Fireball with us maybe while we were cleaning it. I don't know.
yeah.
But, we had a great time. We cooked the whole heart and liver off that moose that night and had a great time. And, um, that's a real big memory. It wasn't a giant moose, but, those guys had hunted moose multiple times and never killed one, so it meant a lot to them just to be part of a
Yeah.
moose. Zach's moose was just me and him, and that was a lot of fun. It only lasted a day, but we went by boat, spotted a moose, went up and shot this moose, and me and him packed it out. Took 3 or 4. I think we were pretty tickled. I think we got it out in 3 trips, but it wasn't terrible. It was only about a quarter mile to
I
3/8 of a mile that we had to pack out, and it was all downhill. We'd shot
did
him up on top of this ridge.
some of the funnest hunts, when me and dad started hunting, Kentucky turkey, because turkey is always fun, but in Indiana, it's like 1 and you're done. And I scrounged up some permission, and we had both killed a bird over there, and I somehow got a hold of this guy. It's where it's our better spot now, and it was the last day, and he said we could go, and this was before church, and it was raining, and we called one right off the roost, and I smacked it. It was a double-beard, huge bird, and we were celebrating, and dad looked out in the field behind us, and there was, like, 3 more out there. And it was thundering and raining, and the turkeys were gobbling to thunder, and I'm trying to keep my camera dry because this is back when I was filming more. And we snuck around and got on those birds and called them in, and dad shot one at, like, 55 yards. It was a crazy shot. We doubled on, like, the last day, like, a lot of mine are with him, like, we do a lot of hunting. It's hard to find other people to keep up, but, the turkey hunts are just a good time. I think it's the camaraderie because you get to do it together, and same with elk, it's a team effort,
Yeah.
and whitetail's just different, because obviously, like, my big buck story's neat and this and that, but it's like really the funnest is the doe drives because you get to do it with everybody. Like we haven't done them a while, but like and this too. Like that was just it was just fun, man. And I think sometimes we get too caught up in this end result picture, and that's not what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is because, yeah, I mean, I think about that all the time. That just it's usually the best parts of the hunts are being with your friends and family. They just are. Just everything I go back to is that like I got a bison skull behind me. That hunt, I was so annoyed with the hunt.
I remember
Didn't think
that.
I was gonna get it done. I was by myself for multiple days, and I prefer to be hunting with at least someone. you know, and
The
that
antelope
one,
hunt we all went on was a
yeah,
good time. That was we gotta do that again. We got enough points, but
I know.
that was
I
neat, man. We were all on the boat, and, me and dad we were coyote hunting, everybody killed an antelope, and your dad got one with a crossbow that we all got to see. Like, that was a pretty special trip,
That was a
and,
really good trip. I wish I would have been, like, off the whole time. You know, that's a bad thing about being out here is I don't get to experience, like I know it's a pain in the butt portion of your hunt, but, like, the ride together. I used to go on them when we went to Canada fishing every
Yeah.
spring. So I remember those trips being in a vehicle with my grandpa and my dad and my uncles and but their buddies and stuff. And just special things like that you remember that didn't even really have a lot to do with the actual trip, but just a long time in a vehicle together. But I know Dad got that the last day of bow season or before the rifle season come in with the antelope. He shot that one. I got real good footage, and there's what 6 of us, I think, on the recovery there, 6 or 7
Yeah.
of us.
Yep.
And then I was with you for your first antelope, you and your dad, and
Mhm.
and then me, you, and your dad went after the one that he shot. And I've got that footage of both those hunts, but I got the footage of your dad shooting. And the funny thing is, all the guys are down on the lake, like a mile or a mile and a half from where we're at, watching us the other direction. So you can see it like pretty much when your dad shoots that antelope, you can see the boat off in the distance.
Remember I hopped on his gun and shot that coyote. Me and him were celebrating. I said,
You
"There's a
know,
coyote," and he says, "Jump on there." I shot that thing, and I didn't hit it the best. I took off after it with a knife, but yeah, that
you
was a neat trip.
you know that my dad always tells that story because that scared the crap out of him.
I
He
remember that,
thought
yeah.
because they were all giving each other fives and they weren't looking after your dad had shot the antelope because I think the antelope ran like 20 yards and fell down. And then we were like, hey, there's a coyote. And you shot, but you took off running. So they just heard a second shot and saw you running. And dad thought something had happened.
I know, I
He
remember
he
that,
thought
yeah.
the gun had accidentally went off and something happened to
Mhm.
somebody. He was scared, didn't know what was going on.
And we're
But
using trash bags to get off the boat, to get on the
oh
land so we
yeah.
didn't get off. That
I
was a
mean,
neat
that's what
trip.
I've got pictures that I love of Zach's moose. It's not a giant. It's very similar to the one I shot, but that moose rack is in the front of my Lund, and my Lund was like pretty much brand new when I did that.
That's on our
And
website. That is a neat
yeah,
picture.
I wish it had been, a Yukon moose at 70 inches across there, but that was pretty special. We messed around getting some footage, like I think I had Zach get off the boat so we could take some footage of driving the boat with the moose in it and stuff. But I had all those quarters, the front of my boat, the front deck was so bloody from all of that, you know.
Yeah.
But all all those, man, there's so many because every hunt's got something that you remember, that's special. I really don't have any that I just despise. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think I ever
No.
had that hunt with somebody that I just, I never really, I don't know. I don't hunt with people that I don't like, kind of thing, put it that way.
No,
So
we've been
most of
very
mine have
fortunate
always
to
been all been very well. And I mean, we
yeah.
could keep going for sure just on this one topic because it seems like elk's in there. I don't even mention like these once in a lifetime, like the sheep. I mean, I had fun hunting it, but I was spent one day with a guide the day I killed, and
Yeah.
so it was somebody I didn't know prior to that, and had a great day with him. But it just never happened while I hunted 2 weeks with Michael Simpson and your dad and Bill and Tony, and Dad spent some time with me. So, but
Yeah. Been very fortunate, and we've me and you haven't hunted a ton together is the thing. Like
I
I've
was the
hunted a lot
age
with your dad, you've hunted a lot with mine. We've this and
there's
that,
age
but it's
difference.
yeah, and it's so hard to get out to Wyoming now,
Yeah. That's the
you
thing is
know?
I left. So like when your dad started coming out hunting after I moved to Wyoming, you were young. Like
Yeah,
Dad sent that picture after we did the podcast with him of you, and he always tells that story how you couldn't pronounce Wyoming and you were like
yeah.
saying you were gonna go. And I mean, I don't even know how old you were, 4 or 5. Like that was 2002. How old would you have been?
3,
Okay,
3.
yeah. But
Just turned
I
3.
remember that, looking at that picture, like, I remember getting back and you being obsessed with those elk horns.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I definitely knew everything that, your hunts and stuff like that because we always, talked to your dad and everything. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's hard. My time back there was doe drives, so that was what we got to do the most of. And I mean, it's even when you guys come up. I mean, we hunt hard. The other
yeah,
thing is even when you've been here, I don't see each other, but for maybe to eat dinner if we're lucky,
yeah,
in the evening, and that's just enough to eat so you can go sleep because you put in a day's work.
yeah. Well, we got some more time. We got more time.
Oh yeah,
Hopefully, we'll get some more in, and hopefully some more good hunts to come, man. Those are good highlights. Um, and we need to. I would really like to do a round table. Try to get like your dad, Rob, my dad on here, and just let them go. I think people would get a kick out of that. I think that'd be a good podcast. If we can get them all together and get everybody's internet to work and such. I think that'd be fun. Maybe we'll try to get that together.
yeah. It would be fun because I mean those guys they all got a bunch of stories that neither one of us were involved with too. Yeah,
Yeah,
my dad had. We didn't even really get into that on the podcast. Dad done a lot of hunting when I was a kid, and I was always so jealous, like because I was with dad all the time when I could be, but I was like, I'd get mad at him, when he left for a week to go somewhere because I wasn't with him.
yeah.
I
Oh
think
yeah,
I think they told me about that a lot. Like I would be grumpy with him as he got back, like like, I didn't get to go.
yeah.
So,
Well, they've taken us on a lot of hunts. Got them to
oh yeah,
thank, but
I was
yeah,
blessed. I talk about that all the time. I don't know if you're probably not there yet, but talking about like kids and chores and things like that. And I had people in my life that like, buddies that would get frustrated because I was always doing stuff. Always had to. They're like, well, you always got to work. And I never really considered it much. I mean, we cut firewood, we burned firewood at the house, and anytime my dad wouldn't help people build barns all the time, and I was right there by his side. But I was like, I get to go hunting whenever I want. I got to go to Canada every year as a kid. I mean, I know how fortunate I was. I got to go on bear hunts and stuff before I graduated, and
yeah.
I I would still, stuff indoors. Obviously, I'd put off doing dishes till my mom was almost home, but, get that stuff done right before she came in the house. But I always thought chores were a good thing. And dealing with that right now, telling the grandson, like, hey, your grades need to be good so that when, you know, when, when I want to take you somewhere and you got to miss school, that it's not an issue. Like, cause you never know when I'm gonna go, "Hey, we're going deer hunting in Indiana," or whatever, it's like, "You're coming with me." So, it's just, it's interesting explaining that.
There's no do-overs, but I, uh, I swindled some trips, like, in high school and even college era, but, sports took a lot of my time. I
Yep.
remember, like, the one is the story I just told, like, the football coach was livid because I missed, like, 2 football games to go out there, but I wouldn't trade that for the world, man. In fact, I shoulda went more, and I think that's why it wasn't, too hard for me to give that up because I think I got to go a couple more times.
It's
But, even college baseball, I think I got to go antelope hunting during college ball because it was like COVID. We couldn't do anything else, and I talked the
yeah,
coach into it. But, there's seasons of your life, and glad I did it, and I got good accomplishments with that and, degree, and, that was what was important then, which honestly, hunting was always my passion. Like, even in college, like I like to go out and have a good time, but like when it came fall time, my roommate would get mad at me. Like I was going back home to hunt. Like, I mean, I
yeah.
don't care how good the party was gonna be or how many good looking women was gonna be there. I was gonna go to the stand. Like it was
I
just
mean,
in me, and that's why we have a podcast and all this and that and have to get a good job so we can have these leases and go on hunts, man. Like there's sacrifices that had to be made. and it's
Yeah.
worth it to me because it's a kind of a lifestyle. We've talked about that before. Better or
I
worse, it is.
I always wonder about it because I loved sports, but that, I don't know, wasn't good enough for a lot of it, and some of it was just wouldn't commit to it at all because it was like I can remember having that same argument playing basketball. Like, "Hey, you everybody's got to be here Saturday," and everybody's going, "It's the opener of deer season." Like, you're crazy if you think we're going to be here for practice.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm glad I didn't go down that road myself because I just don't think I could have done it because of I hunted all the time, hunted before school, hunted after school. I
yeah,
remember I remember to this day, dad killed a big buck out of my tree stand, and the only reason he was there was because I got sick and didn't go to school, and I was supposed to have a basketball game that night. Dad's like, "Well, since you're not going to play basketball, I'm going to go hunt your stand." And he went down there and shot a big old like 10 point that had two kickers on thing. I was like, "Dude," but I still went and got that deer. Helped you get that deer out for sure.
oh yeah, and that's
Yeah.
that's part of the experience too, man. I like that just as much. But yeah, that was good. It was good. I appreciate you sharing with me, and hopefully you guys get something out of this. If anything, think about your hunts you've been blessed to be on. I'm sure as an outdoorsman, there's gonna be one that stands out for sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to take away, like you can chase horns, and we all want to kill giant elk or giant whitetail and stuff, but in the end, it's going to be the time you spend with the family and friends on the hunt that's going to stand out more as you get older. This is.
Yep, I agree. Well, you got any updates? I guess I'm gonna try to get some blaze orange hats made. Seems like people always want blaze orange, and I've got maybe a new uh logo for like Upland that I made. I gotta see if they can make it, but it looks pretty cool. Anybody might be interested.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
we'll
have
put them
to.
on the website or just share them with. I know quite a few people that already kind of want one, so maybe I'll wear it on when I get them. I'll wear it on the podcast and see what people think.
Yeah, I think it'll look good. I'll have to share that with me when you get them. I've actually got a couple different styles that I've ordered also just to check out and see if I like them or not.
Yeah,
But I had a request come in um, for one of those cryptex you made, so I got a few of those being made.
yeah, those are
But
neat. I like those.
yeah,
But
I other than that, not a lot, man. Just work and I'm gonna try to get these horses going. Kind of excited to stay with that and keep riding them so that they're definitely good and ready to go when hunting season comes. And I don't know, I don't really have anybody coming out this fall, uh, so I want to attempt to hunt, somewhere different,
oh
even if I
man,
don't draw. Huh?
let's go to Utah.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely could be a possibility. I got to hunt early this year. My schedule, that's the first time, and
Oh really?
man, it's the first time in almost 10 years that I'm going to hunt the first part of September, I think. Because
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know why, but it just seems like I always get off of work around 16th, 17th and hunt the last few weeks of season, which have been good. But I liked hunting early too. I've always seemed to been able to get in the elk pretty much any time down there. But sometimes I think it can be better hunting early. There's not as much pressure
I know.
has
I'm
occurred.
I'm 50-50 on that myself. I am.
Yeah.
And weather. Where we go in Utah, heck, it snowed on us. I mean, it gets cold. So earlier, I mean, out there, which where we go in Wyoming, it's like so hot. You wish you could go the opposite, but it could have been a little warmer this last trip, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. We need some moisture to occur. Not gonna be a great year.
Yeah.
We still ain't got hardly any snow.
Well, all right. I gotta go finish up the evening. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you next time. Danny, appreciate you, man.
Later.